Welcome to the Impact Room, brought to you by Douglas Jackson, who help you hire more impactful, diverse leaders who stay for longer and are more successful. The Impact Room is a business, CX, and leadership podcast where exceptional, diverse, and impactful leadership and wisdom is shared. We dive deep into pressing topics that impact your customer-led business, featuring interviews with CEOs, COOs, Chief Customer, Chief People Officers, directors, influential leaders, and subject matter experts who share their lived experiences, top tips, thoughts, advice, and industry trends to help elevate existing and future talent. So let's dive into our next episode, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, or share if you enjoy this content. Thank you.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Impact Room. I'm Fletcher from Douglas Jackson, and for those of you who don't know, I help COOs, CCOs, and business leaders optimize their operations, resources, tools, technology, and workforce. I work across resource planning, WFM, analytics, insight, and technology. Today, we're going to be discussing one of them topics, which is very hot on agenda, but also one of them topics that I think still has a lot of queries and a lot of concerns around, which obviously, if you haven't guessed, it's that two-letter word, which is AI. So we'll be looking for everything from the basics right through to the buzzwords, from how you could get it to build you a smart butler, to make sure that smart butler doesn't put the coffee in the fridge and delivers it to your bedroom every morning, right the way through to everything. So today I'm joined by Ahmed Khan, who is a technologist, has done a lot of work with Birmingham. Ahmed, welcome to the Impact Room.
Thank you, Perry, and welcome to all your listeners as well. Looking forward to this conversation with you.
Ahmed, before we get started, obviously I've had many conversations with you and have heard some of the exciting work that you've done, especially within the AI space. But do you mind just giving us a quick introduction to yourself and who you are and what you're about?
Yep, cool with that. So I've been working in technology and AI for over 20 years. A lot of that was around what we call machine learning. So, and then the last 5 years, done a lot of work on using AI or machine learning in almost everyday environments, so we can actually see the fruits of what we're doing, and you'd be surprised how much there is there beyond, say, just chatbot agents or something.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. So before we get started, I mean, obviously, it'd be good just to have a quick conversation really around kind of AI and where we already seen it in the everyday life, just to kind of, I suppose, take the scariness of AI out there away a little bit. Let's take this back as if we're talking to our nan or our 6-year-old child, whatever it is. Where apart from the obvious, where you've got Netflix that shows you your next recommended kind of program, or Spotify playing a playlist, you go, oh, that was just a song I was thinking of, but Spotify already knows you. They're not mind reading, they're obviously using technology and AI. So, but have you got any examples of everyday life where AI is being used and probably not even realizing?
So a lot of the places where we see AI, so I do a lot of work over the University of Birmingham, and I work across other sectors as well. But where you'll see a lot of what we call AI or machine learning, it's things like at hospitals, we're already started using them for diagnosis of issues. So it works hand in hand with the actual physician, doctor, or the dentist. So my background is nanotechnology, and I work in what they call drug delivery systems. So we're already looking at, can we use AI to depict how a particular medicine will work in your body, rather than having all the rodent trials, etc. Can we streamline it so it doesn't take 10 years to bring a medicine to market, but it could take 5 years? Other ones that you'll see, which you've also mentioned, is if you've ever browsed the web, which everybody does, isn't it ironic that before you finish putting in the last bit of the new browser, it already knows what you're going to do, because it's picking up data. It's picking up data. Yeah. Everything you do leaves a footprint, and that footprint is now being used. There was a time when data wasn't even used by anybody. So when the first iPhone came out, they were the only ones to use data to depict things. Restaurants you might want to go to, things you might want to buy. Before that, nobody cared. So there are a lot of things which populates a lot of data that can be used in an AI environment where you can automate and predict where things come from or go to.
Yeah. No, brilliant. No, interesting. Okay, fine. So, I mean, moving on to the AI buzzwords. I mean, I talk about AI every day of my life, and there's I've done some research into the buzzwords and stuff, but I think there's still a lot of confusion out there around the AI buzzwords and what they really mean. So look, I actually asked ChatGPT earlier today, give us an analogy that we can talk about when we're describing AI and the words. So the one it came up with was the one I've mentioned earlier, was this smart butler, and how we can get a butler to copy everything that we do, learn our habits, anticipate what's next. We're walking in from work and our dinner's already ready on the table, that type of things. Handle them repetitive tasks, but then also spot patterns that we do that we don't even realize we're doing, that potentially that could pick up. So looking at that, how can we explain AI in our everyday life through the buzzword? So if we take like machine learning, what does machine learning mean to this butler, I suppose?
Okay, so excuse me. Let me take it right back to what exactly is AI. Excuse me. So everybody will talk to you about ChatGPT and Copilot and all these other whiz bang wallop things that are out there. But in reality, what they are underneath the facade that we see, which is a web browser or an app, it's literally a set of mathematical equations, things that children do at school. 2 + 2 = 4. We know it equals 4, so we know that's a sign off. So what you'll find is the actual engine, as people call it, is how these equations are put together, how this maths is working. And what it does then is it does one of two fundamental things. It will predict or it will diagnose. In other words, does A and B equal C? If so, you're going to get C. Sometimes you'll see an end product, but you're going to it tries to work out, how did you get to it? What were the things that came to wherever you are? So there's predictive, which is it predicts the future for you. And the other one is it's seen a particular thing. How did you get to it? And I'll give you the analogy. If you went on holiday to, I don't know, Singapore, and you arrived at Singapore, the likelihood is you caught a flight. Right? That's what the machine will do. It'll try and work backwards and say, how did you get here? You're not from Singapore. You must have traveled. It's highly unlikely you walked. So you must have caught a flight. That's what it does. And with the patterns, every piece of data will give you a particular pattern. There are certain patterns which are unique, and the machine will start to learn it. I give you an example. When you get up in the morning, you'll brush your teeth and then get changed. You don't get changed in the shower. And let's say, for argument's sake, you did it once. You got changed in the shower. The machine would know that that's an outlier. That he doesn't really do that. There's no point getting the temperature right if he's going to come in wearing his clothes. Right? So it will negate things like that. But what it also does is it works out a path, and that path is then translated into what we call an LLM or a RAG, something that we can diagnose and say, okay, we got from A to B through this path. So all these words are trying to get the machine to work that path. And what we see, or technologists see, which is after the OpenAI, Copilot, and the things we work with, are trying to explain to the machine to build that path for us. So if you wanted an AI agent that takes your details to book a flight, it has a rough idea what it should be asking. Well, you need to know about the flight, the time, the day, the person's name, etc., etc. And that is taught to the machine. Beyond that, the machine will start to learn patterns by the more it asks, the better it will get.
Yeah.
And that's how it starts to work out the route through the pattern. Sometimes, as an accuracy figure, if you can get to about 70% accuracy, you're doing really well, because after that it will just it will get better and better and better. The most I've ever seen when I first rolled out an AI program was about 65% accuracy. But then but at that point I didn't have much data. As more data came in, the accuracy got up, because it started seeing patterns in the data. So it needs a lot of data to see those patterns, and that's what it does. The machine will find patterns within whatever we do.
No, brilliant. So brilliant. So I suppose, looking at our butler, he's learning from our habits, and that's machine learning, and that's no different to anything that we do. The machine is watching our habits and learning from them. And obviously, look, the butler can read books and whatever else and videos and do that deep learning to be able to learn more, as you said, to actually realize what also can happen, and to teach itself. No different. I know when we spoke, we mentioned around, like, when you teach your children to talk, you don't just kind of sit down one day and go, right, we're going to learn how to speak. It's just a generic habit that, and then they'll start to read books and pick up new words with the deep learning and stuff like that. So fine. So you mentioned words LLM there, that large language model. We've got everything now. The butler's obviously learned from our habits. He's been out and read the whole library of how to live a life and how to be a butler and whatever else. So what is an LLM?
So in that instance with the butler or the child, an LLM is a particular path that you're building for it.
Yeah.
So it's one of a number of things. If you can imagine that the machine has no idea what English is, not an iota. So it's got to understand that similar words have the same meaning, like big, like large, like extreme. They kind of have the same connotation. So what it's trying to do is, when it's having an interaction with you, whether you're speaking to it or you're typing something, it starts to pick up that these are the same type of words for the same meaning.
Yeah.
And then it will start to predict what the outcome should be. So your butler, if you started talking to it regarding making a cake, and you constantly told it that, well, when you build a cake, you have to have a recipe. From the recipe, you have ingredients. It will start to understand. Okay, so he's asked me to build him a fairy cake, for want of a better term. So I'll need the name of the recipe. I'll need the ingredients. I'll need the step by step in that recipe, and then finally, I'll have the end point. It will go away and find these. It will say there's a structure behind what he's asked me to do, or she's asked me to do, or they've asked me to do. And that's what it tries to pick out with these LLMs. They're unique for the task that you need.
Happy days. So obviously, look, I suppose if I joined that path, and then I was able to get this butler to go and create me a pictured, or as you say, even follow my instruction, then go on to create the recipe book for me. I suppose that's also a great example of that generative AI. It's gone on to produce the recipe book and the pictures to support that recipe book as well. So I don't know if you've got anything to add on the generative AI.
So what we're looking at on the generative AI is we may not have an end answer, but we might have data, which are the components. So if we gave the machine all the components, could it build me a car? Would it understand that those components will make this? And that's what we use generative AI for. It's to look at really complex things which we don't really have an answer for. And it goes hand in hand with what they call deep tech. I mean, I asked somebody at Cambridge University, goes, what's deep tech? And they completely stopped. Deep tech tends to be things that we have a very limited understanding of. I mean, I use it a lot when I'm using nanotechnology, when I know a particular nanoparticle may do something, but I'm not sure. So what we do through trial and error and some scientific background of what the thing may do, we come up with an answer. What we're asking the machine to do is, can you do the analysis without me being there? Can you work out certain parameters of that thing and give me a possible probability of what it could do? And that's what Gen AI is. It gives you an insight beyond what your thought patterns could be. And I give you one of the ones that we are seriously looking at is to use something like Gen AI to work out, when you send somebody to Mars, what is the issue that it has on the human body? Is it the time, the distance, the gravity, da 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 da? And it will try and work out what are the key factors, which at this point in time may be a stumbling block for us to go to Mars.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And the only other one I want to bring up quickly on the buzzwords, just because we mentioned this word in one of the next questions, is what's meant by augmented AI for those that don't quite get the different terms of AI.
Okay. So augmentation is a combination of what we would call virtual reality and human beings. So you could put on the glasses and you're suddenly walking in an environment, or you can see something which is not really there, but it's been projected on the wall. That's augmented. Virtual reality is something completely different. It's like you go into a completely different environment and you actually look, feel, smell, etc., etc. So when we use augmented AI, what we're doing is it's almost like having a specialist sitting next to you if you're in the GP surgery. So you've gone in for a particular ailment, and through voice commands, probably visual, the machine is trying to work out what could be the issue with this person. And then collaboratively with the GP, you come up with an answer or a set of protocols. I think you need more blood works. I think you need to go to outpatients, etc., etc. So what you're doing is you're limiting the risk of failure without undermining the doctor. That's what you don't want to undermine him. And then you'll see this in other places, where you'll see it in education. A lot of the times when I do some work over at the university where I am, we don't even know that we're using augmented. So we'll use an AI machine learning program, and then we'll also explain it to somebody. So it does this, but if you want to do it, you press that button and it'll do it for automatically. But I'm explaining how it works. So that's where you get augmented AI. It's a combination of human and machine, and you should work in harmony. You should.
Well, no, brilliant. It's just because one of the questions is going to be on that later, so it's good just to explain what we mean ahead of the question. So, moving on to impact in business, and I know we've had many conversations with some of the stuff that you've seen and you've been able to build across multiple industries, and the impacts they've had on them industries and businesses. But where is AI making the biggest impact for businesses today, would you say?
So if you look at it purely from a business operational point of view, rather than the business itself, whether it's biotech or whatever it is, it's very good at efficiencies, streamlining processes, removing obstacles which shouldn't be there, reassigning and redefining the human's role. So what you get there is a cost reduction without you knowing, because there's probably been so many inefficiencies in a particular company that they didn't even know. It's just work, business as usual. But if you looked at it, you thought, why are we doing that for? I'll give you a really simple one which I came across. Bless them. There was a company who, when they were invoicing people, their invoices never cross-reference previous invoices. Never cross-referencing. So they were writing invoices almost from scratch, whereas in reality they could have cross-referenced and the whole series of those a whole series of those invoices for that particular customer with that particular product, and they could have seen where they'd given discounts and trends. But they did it manually. They just they read the previous invoice and they just write the new one. Where was the other one that I saw? Simple things like which is really poignant at this point in time in Birmingham, refuge collection. Refuge collection. It's simply, here are 4 streets, 10 streets, go and collect the rubbish. no idea of how much rubbish is going to be there, no real idea of how much rubbish is it seasonal, is it different during the month, nothing, just go and collect the rubbish. If you put it through the analysis, once the truck has come back and you weigh it, you think, hold on a minute, that truck's less than half full. Why don't you put another 2 streets in? Or why don't you get 1 truck instead of 2 trucks to do the work? So all of these things are places where you could use AI for efficiency. The other place is predicting what somebody's going to do.
Yeah.
Amazon uses it, eBay uses it. So you've looked at A, B, and C, and they go, you know what? I'm sure he'd want to know about C as well. He's looked at A, B, give him C as well. You might not buy product C, but you're tempted, and it's the temptation that they want.
Yeah.
So anything that optimizes your e-commerce environment, your buying habits, and that, so they're all going to be using it, and they do use it.
Yeah, no, it's true. No, brilliant. So what are the risks if companies adopt AI blindly, though? Like you mentioned there, like you can go in and drive efficiencies, but I think sometimes if you just try to be more efficient, that can actually be a negative impact than trying to achieve something else, and efficiencies just follow, if that makes sense. So yeah, what are the risks if companies just adopt AI blindly and go, oh yeah, we've been sold this new fancy tool, let's go and do it?
If you do just implement AI without a real strategy, you might find that it's made an efficiency here, but it's made it worse over there. And the other thing is, how could you ever do an audit? You wouldn't know what's out there. I always say that the company runs the strategy, and the tech has to be in line with it. It doesn't mean that you blindly follow a strategy which may not be right, but at the same time, you can't aimlessly just put lots of AI agents all over the place. It's got to be as part of a long-term strategy, whereby maybe you're going fully away from any human beings at the front end of I don't know, a call center. But unless it's part of a strategy, it's just going to be ad hoc. And what I find is it's when it connects to something else which wasn't part of the original problem, it tends to fall over because it wasn't designed to look at the other thing. So my view has always been, where's the company going? Where are the roadmaps? Where are the milestones? And what could you do in the time period you have?
Real. We'll come back to that. I definitely think we'll come back to that later in this session. I think there is something on that, on maybe some top tips and practical advice for AI adoption. So when we're looking at AI again, so coming back to this augmented AI, how can augmented AI help leaders to make better decisions?
So if I use the example which I did earlier about hospitals, let's take hospitals, beautiful. They should be running at full maximization, or at least full maximization, in a very efficient way. If it's part of a full strategy and you implement AI, what you're looking for is when you have, I'll give you an example. When you have let's say you come in and you have an X-ray of your foot, and the likelihood is you've broken it. Why does it take an hour before the doctor tells you what a machine could tell you in 10 minutes? All he's going to do is all he or she is going to look at is look at the picture on the screen. It used to be up on the clipboards. Now it's on a laptop, and it goes, yeah, you've broken your leg. I think you broke your tibia. Wouldn't that be better off done by the machine?
Yeah.
Which can analyze millions of pictures. And then at that point, then it's not the machine tells you got your broken leg. You can then go back to the doctor, who's then more efficiently using his or her time. So by the time they've gone to see the doctor, not only has it been diagnosed it's broken, but it's also told you what to do. I think you need to go down to the orthopedic cast department to get a cast on there. And then I'll see you in 6 weeks' time. It's already done. Whereas at the moment, it goes through the doctor, and then, bless him or her, they have to do it, which is very time consuming. And in reality, what are they looking for? The break in the leg, or the chest X-ray's got it's got a dot, it's got a black dot on there. That's all they're doing. And the other thing you'll be doing is you'll be making it far more accurate.
Yeah.
So misdiagnoses should get less. So that's a
Interesting.
practical one. The other one is something like transport. If you know that a particular train is going to be oversubscribed at this time based on the number of people sitting in there, based on its weight, then put another carriage on. But take that carriage off when you know it's not going to be used. And these are the things that it could do. Okay, at the end of the day, it's still the decision of the manager or the doctor, but you're making life easier for them.
So coming to that kind of, like I mentioned at the start, AI is one of the most overhyped things at the moment. And there is that question of, what's reality and what's hype. But actually, from what you're saying, if I train my butler properly, he will, a confused butler doesn't help anyone.
No.
A trained butler could do what I need it to do. So this reality versus hype piece is possible if we train properly.
I would say the most underrated, overlooked job on the planet is a business analyst's job. Nobody wants to do it, and they don't think it's of any value. When you're training your butler in an industry-based system or an organization, who do you think has to do that? It's the analyst. It's not the techie. It's not the techie person. It's the analyst. He or she needs to be able to define what do you want to do, where are you going, and what impact does he have, and what cost. And then they come back and they start working. They have a good understanding on technology, but they also have a very good understanding on the business. And when we write these one-liners into ChatGPT, what we're doing is we're building a playground, and that playground works out how and what you want in this particular session, in this particular conversation. So in reality, that person is going to be, I would say, one of the most important people there. You could call them an AI analyst or whatever you want to do, but they should be able to then pick out and put it onto a roadmap which maps and meets the company's expectations and their strategy.
Interesting. So moving on then to adoption of AI. If a company wants to start, I know a lot of companies already started their AI journey, but there is still a lot out there that haven't, or they might have started it and got it wrong because they just jumped into it, like we've mentioned. If a company is starting on their AI journey, what's the first step then? I mean, you were probably looking at this business analyst role here, I suppose.
From running my own companies and being part of a company, the first thing I would look at is do some sort of audit on what you have. What do you have? Before you can implement anything new, you need to know what you've got. And that will then depict on what you can do. And it'll also give you an idea on the cost and how long it will take to implement. But what it will also force you to do is document what you're doing. If you're going to put a new agent in, please explain what it's supposed to do. And also who's looking after it if it breaks. So I audit. I know it sounds boring. It's not AI terminology. Audit to find out what you've got, find out the inefficiencies, and then target them. And then from targeting the inefficiencies in step one, you can also look at where you can make money. Where can you make money? Would it make more sense to, if you're running a travel agency and you've now got front end, everybody on the call center is an agent, then at the back end you could be saying, well, I have all these databases on people. I'm going to start throwing them emails saying there's a better holiday for you. Instead of going there, why don't you go there? See, the difference between AI and a filter is a filter will only look at what you're looking for, whereas AI has the broadness of the LLMs to look at the round sound.
So well, just to add to that then, so we've gone past the filters now. We're now into this LLM world. We've got the around sound. So how can a business leader best leverage that LLM in decision making?
So one of the things I did many, many years ago when OpenAI first came out, I had to write a playground, which is the actual almost what the business analyst does. What is it? How do I fix it? How do I teach the thing? So once you've identified where possibly you could put AI, then the next step is to, in a wish list, what exactly would you want it to do? What do you want it to do? And just list everything, all the bullet points, and then work out which ones you can do with the technology you have. And then the rest just put them on a roadmap or a long-term strategy and bring them in when you see the technologies change. So for argument's sake, 4 years ago, it was very hard to build a AI image recognition application. Now you can do it with DALL-E and just plug it in, and that builds what you call your roadmap. 3 years ago you couldn't do it. Now you can.
Yeah, it's true. So where are the common pitfalls in AI rollouts?
Deploying technology for the sake of technology. just rolling it out, and then not really seeing the bigger picture of where does it connect to. The amount of times I've seen people just and AI itself is not just about optimizing my my advertising or my SEOs. It's a bit more than that. So it's I had one a couple of years ago when somebody said to me, he said, I'm going to fire 450 mobile telecom engineers and I'm going to get the machine to do it.
Yeah.
And I had to sit with the CEO of this big multinational and say, if you fire them, it will take you 6 months to be productive. And you don't have 6 months because you are a public listed company. And that brought him back a bit and said, okay, where can we implement machine learning? And then we looked at it and picked the areas where we knew we could get what they call quick wins. And that's what you want. You want to find the quick wins, which will allow you to get more buy-in from other people in the company. So it's not something that's going to take 6 years to do, maybe only 6 months. And you say, there you go, I can do it there. And once you've done the first one, you'll find that a lot of people will start to buy into it, and it's not a threat. It's not doomsday scenario. It's not it's not Cyberdyne Systems from Terminator, and you can put more in. But if you try and do the whole thing in one go, you're just going to fall flat.
No, it's true. That's one thing that we see a lot, really, with the people who try to do big transformative projects when it comes to AI. It's not reality. The reality is the real progress comes from the small wins. That week by week change, that process by process change that's making your life easier and better, really. So, Brill. So, look, going on to the big difficult questions now. Where do you mentioned, obviously, within 3 years we now had the ability to do the image recognition, etc., etc. Where do you see AI in 3 to 5 years? Because obviously it's going to be better trained. We're going to have better rules. We're going to be checking in more regular with it. So where is AI going to be in 3 to 5 years from now?
So with the imagery, it was available, but not available to everybody. It was just too complex. So if you look at it, the biggest inroads into where you can use AI and machine learning is where you have repetitive things that do the same thing again and again and again and again. And they very rarely do they deviate from that path, the path that I was mentioning, which is the LLM. So I can see it being used a lot more in medicine, transport, oil and gas. Oil and gas based on the assumption where if you have a leakage in a pipeline, you can find it quicker and find out a remedial action quicker.
Yeah, it's true.
Instead of just finding it.
And water as well.
And water.
I've seen it being used in the water industry.
It's everywhere where you have monotonous patterns. And I say monotonous pattern is, like I said about the X-ray. I'm sure if you put all the X-rays that are ever done in this country into one database, there must be millions. And of those millions, there must be millions of people who have broken their leg or chest infections. So why is the doctor having to spend 3 hours to send him to A&E, bring him back, sit him in the waiting room, then check a picture? That's what they're doing. Why can't you do it beforehand? One of the best imagery usage I came across was in New Zealand, where a vet goes out to see sheep, because that's all they have in New Zealand.
Yeah.
He took the blood. They imaged it there and then on the farm, and it gave them a 70% accuracy to say yes or no, he has that disease. That's a real use of it. And when you look at it, there are other use patterns of it. One of the first times I came across AI was when I found out about the Eurofighter. The Eurofighter has 17 onboard engines. It's not even aerodynamically designed to fly, but the onboard computers allow it to fly.
Yeah.
So there must be others out there that make our life, autonomous vehicles, autonomous trains, and that they could do that tomorrow. It's just the legislation behind it. The insurance is more so than anything else. But where I can see it really taking off, which something what I'm looking at, is when you build a 3D organ structure like the liver, the kidneys, everything, and then you give it a drug structure for chemotherapy, whatever it is, and it will work out exactly within a probability what it will do and how it will work over a year, a month, whatever time period.
Yeah.
That is huge. At the moment, we're still having to do field trials before we even get to this nirvana. In 5 years' time, I can see, prescribed drugs roadmap going from 7 or 10 years down to 5, and that's huge. That means things can be working a lot better. Personalized medicine is another one. Have you ever noticed when you buy, and I said this to a friend of mine, I said, why is it that when you buy protein powder, it says 30 grams? How does it know that I need 30 grams? How does it know? Whereas if you had an app and you put your details in and it told you what you're going to get and what time you're going to eat it, it'll say, well, I take half.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting.
All of these things. One of the big ones we think is going to happen is when you go to your doctor and then you go to the chemist, what exactly does the chemist do? What does the pharmacist do?
Yeah.
Apart from give you, package bottle, 3 times a day before meals. Couldn't you get that from a dispensary?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So obviously on the medical thing, though, because I've done a lot with healthcare organisations, and there is a lot of talk around AI. I know the excitement across healthcare is probably one of the most excited places around AI, but I think that also comes with balancing the ethics.
Oh yeah.
With the benefits, because people, when it comes to personal health, that's obviously top priority. The Stephen Bartlett quote, put everything you love on top of the table. As soon as that table breaks, everything's lost. It could be your nice fancy car, your house, your family, whatever, but that health is your table. So people, obviously, it's the most important thing to people. So how can we balance the benefits of AI with ethics here?
So that's where you'll find, and you'll find it for many, many years to come, when you'll get the augmented AI. That let's say, for argument's sake, you went to the hospital, and so here's another one. You go to the hospital and and I have to do it. I have to send blood samples off to people and for people, and then it comes back. When you send a blood sample off to a laboratory, what exactly do they do? Can't you get the machine to do it?
Yeah.
They're doing the same analysis every single time based on what the doctors asked them to do. So that could be automated. Now, when you get the results back that you may have a protein which is a cancerous one, that's where you still got to go back to the doctor, because that is the ethics. What you don't want to do is tell the machine to print it out and say, I think you got cancer. It's like shock horror. So you need that patient relationship. You need that. So that's where the ethics come in. The other one is is there only one way to solve a medical problem? There may be 3 or 4. And if the patient says, I insist on doing B, even though the doctor wants to do A, then analyze it. Is it okay for this patient to do, option B? At the moment, it'd be no. But maybe you should do that. Maybe it's less burden on the NHS to do B. I don't know. So that's where you will still see a lot of ethics. I don't think for a very, very long time that you go into a doctor's surgery, you talk to a machine, it tells you, you got stage 4 cancer. You just cannot, because there's a whole human interaction involved in it. It's like if you've ever, I mean, I sometimes go over to the hospital, and it's a whole course to learn to deal with bereavement. It's not just a printout that you get a text message, I think you're going to die. so a lot of those things have to take brought into consideration.
Yeah, that's true. No, interesting. Okay, fine. So what it sounds like you're very excited about AI. There's a lot of excitement. There's some real good stuff in the future that's coming by the sounds of it. And obviously, you say you're very excited. But what worries you about AI? What keeps you awake at night when it comes to AI?
It's only as good as the data it finds.
Very true. Yeah.
So I'll give you a classic example. So about 3 years ago, I had a monotonous piece of work which I had to do, which was just about working the diameter and the ideal vessel to make a drug structure in. So I asked the machine, I said, can you work out the diameter of this thing? And I gave it all the details. And then I looked at the results. I went, that can't be right. 32,000 something. It'd gone away and looked at the circumference of the Earth.
Yeah.
So it's only as good as the data you put into it. It's getting better. It's getting better. And it's still not at the point where it can find it from nothing, if you see what I mean. It needs the data. And the human beings are the ones who give it the data. We're the ones who've done the experiments. We're the ones who've worked the system and said, well, I think this is the best way to do it. So I would say it's the data. And the other thing is, sometimes we do it to humans are our own best and worst enemies. I've lost count how many times I've come across AI experts, and you ask them, what exactly are you doing? And they go, oh, I'm doing this and this. And I always ask the same question. Okay, name me one of the 14 equations that make up AI. Stunned silence. So sometimes we do more bad than good with hype. It's like everything in life. I came across somebody the other day who said, don't eat fruit because it's got sugar. It's got a type of sugar. It's a type of sugar. It's not teaspoons. I'm eating an apple, not teaspoons of sugar.
Yeah.
So that data and try and get the truth.
Yeah, no, it's true. You have okay, fine. So look, I mean, as I say, good quality data, but putting them rules in place to say, look for the good quality data, because the AI could be clever enough if we teach it, like you said, it's the right teaching, it's the right rules in place. AI is very powerful. It's not a team member yet, by the sounds of it.
Close.
Probably close, but actually from an augmented perspective, like you said, could be a very good assistant. My butler is, I know we were messing around with the butler earlier. It is reality. I could get a cup of tea made and brought to bed with robotics and an AI eventually. Probably, I need a lot of teaching yet, but we'll get there. But so look, it's been a really fascinating conversation. I've loved it. I think there's been some really good some good marks. So do you have kind of one final piece of advice for our listeners about AI before we leave, or?
Yes, it's not a mystic art. You can learn it. You can learn it. It doesn't take long. I've seen people who are complete high-tech novices learn enough to build these agents within 3 months. It's not a mystic art. It's the same as medicine's not a mystic art. Physics is not a mystic art. You can learn it if you want to. I know people within those fields don't want you to learn it, hence they give you the acronyms, but in reality you could learn it if you want to in 3 months. I build C++ programs now over the weekend. Me and the machine. I haven't written code in 4 years. I just read the code it's written. I go, oh, change that parameter, and he does it. That's where we need to be getting to, not just allowing the machine to do everything, but understanding what it's doing.
Brilliant. I love that, and fantastic. I mean, yeah, that is brilliant. And I think, the thing that I've took away from this is AI, it doesn't have to be scary.
No.
Just, it can be it will help you to work smarter, not harder. It will be there as your friend. And I think the thing for me as well was what I've really taken from today was like, and I hope everyone does, but some of the buzzwords, the LLMs, the augmented AI, they're actually, when you break them down into simple phrases and
Yeah.
simple things, LLM as a path. We all did flowcharts in GCSE IT or whatever it was.
This is
It's
exactly
just the
the same
path.
way.
And I love that.
Do you know why we? So do you know why we do flow diagrams in GCSE and all the rest of it? Do you know why? It's you're building the structured point by point algorithm, which is a step by step process. That's what you're doing. There's nothing new.
No, exactly. It's so true. And I think, look, we've explained the buzzwords. If you want to go and impress your colleagues now, go for it. But I think, I do think, the industry has got a lot of buzzwords, and I think, you can be sitting at these conferences, and I've done it myself, and I've spoke to people like yourself regular, and I sit at these conferences myself going, I'm AI'd out. I've been at conferences where people have counted how many times the word AI has been mentioned. It's like, but actually, like, the benefit, I think today, like, I'm going to actually use AI to go through and count how many times we used the word AI. I mean, we've used it quite a bit in the last sentence or two, but we didn't use the word. We talked it as a journey, which I think was really, really powerful. So thank you so much for joining us today, Ahmed.
Really enjoyed it.
I've loved it. Yeah, and me, and obviously, if anyone wants to have a conversation with Ahmed, we can get that set up and get that arranged. I'm sure, I'll tag Ahmed's LinkedIn page and stuff into the post, and I'm sure you're open to.
I'll also offer, if anybody wants to come and see our nanotechnology lab where we use machine learning and that at the University of Birmingham, come down.
There you go. So I'm coming myself because I'm born and bred Brummie, so Birmingham's not very far. So I'm your first invitee. But
there you go.
No, brilliant. That'll be really exciting. And obviously what we'll do is we'll put that out there as well. And if anyone wants to come down, that'd be great, because I think that's so exciting and stuff. So thank you very much for that offer as well. That's brilliant, Ahmed.
More than happy.
I wasn't expecting that, and thank you very much for sharing that with the community. So brilliant, Ahmed. It's been a wonderful session. I've really appreciated your time. And thank you so much for joining us on the Impact Room today.
Thank you for inviting me, Perry. Thank you.
Cheers, Ahmed. Stay safe.
Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.